Summer is here, and during this time not only does the mercury rise, so does your electricity bill, and then there is power cut to deal with. Not a pretty situation at 40 degrees Celsius. Today in our Expert Speak segment, we will look at keeping your home cool and keeping your machines far more efficient than you generally do. We lapse into a lot of not doing anything with our air conditioners as well. Hear out what people really are worried about this summer.
See, if you have a lot of plants or you have greenery upstairs, you can water it, so that kind of brings a cooling effect. Apart from that AC, I don't think you can keep it on all the time, but once you have the ACs on, if you can bring the blinds down and you just keep the lights as less as you can, then I think eventually drink a lot of cold water. Nimbu Pani.
We use a cooler, a desert cooler. We have a big one on the rooftop and we've ducted it through the house. I find that very effective. I'm not a big fan of ACs. So this way you have ventilation through the house. You don't have to shut yourself up in a room, and it's perfect. So it also adds a bit of moisture in the air at the moment, which is very good.
We are living in like terrace area, so it's like in the afternoon it's become very hot, and room starts like burning, and so like it's need to cool company. We like keep the doors shut and all, and keep the AC on.
Let me introduce my panelists to you. Saket Sethi, Director, Archilogics Design from our Mumbai studio. Saket, thanks very much for making the time. And I also have with me Manit Rastogi, Managing Partner of Morphogenesis, joining me here in the Delhi studio. Saket, I'm going to come to you first. Let's take an existing home. What do you do to cut the heat?
So I think you need to identify first where you're getting most of the heat from. So if it's a window or a wall or even a ceiling, so you identify where you get your heat coming in from first. And then I think you would have a strategy for whichever area you need to address. So for example, if it's a window and you're looking to cut the heat down from there, you can change the glass on the window. You can have a low E glass. You can also layer the glass surface, so you can have maybe a blind and a curtain. Most usually, I think if you only do one of those things, you still have a lot of heat came from, say, a window surface. You can also green the window surface, so you could put plants, in a planter in front if you have a balcony or, a planter box. So simple things that people can do to mitigate the heat coming in.
What do you think? These seem like very simple things, Manit, but people don't really do them. For example, the double layering of windows, and now it's fashionable to have these huge glass windows. In fact, I've seen in Delhi houses, there are two side walls of drawing rooms completely glass, and glass heats up the homes.
Well, I think, the first thing is to go back to first principles, right? So you have to have a sense of where the sun is. Now, there's nothing wrong with glass. The question is, in which direction is it pointing? So if you have glass facing north, in the northern hemisphere, you're not going to get any sun through it. You'll get daylight, you'll get views, super. The second issue is that if your glass is facing either west or south, you're in, that's a disaster zone, right? So it's not about the amount of glass as much as it is about the amount of, the direction that it's pointing in, and how much shading are you being able to get off that kind of glazing. That's one. Two, it also depends on which kind of climate you're in. So it's not only the heat that's the problem. So Delhi, for example, is more hot and dry during this time of the year, while Mumbai will be hot and humid. The strategies for hot and humid are very different from the strategies of hot, or for example, if you look at Bangalore, which is a temperate climate, the strategies are completely different.
But we're talking about extreme, and
so
90% of India is extreme climates.
Yeah, but there are two types of extremes, with or without humidity. Okay, so the only real method of dispelling humidity is to either get a lot of ventilation, assuming that that you have reasonably not that high, your temperatures aren't in the 40 plus range, or alternatively it's air conditioning. Now, if you look at air conditioning, then what you're really looking at is enclosing your home and sealing it from any outside effects. In which case, equipments that you're using become critical. So you should look at B-rated equipments, which is the Bureau of Energy Efficiency. The Bureau of Energy Efficiency rates all appliances.
So they say EER is very important to check for your air conditioner. That's your energy efficiency ratio.
That's your energy efficiency ratio. That's critically important, A. B, if you're in a warm, humid climate, then what you would really be looking to do is to get as much natural light in without letting the sun in. where you would adopt shading. In a hot climate like Delhi, at this time of the year, pre-monsoons, what you would really be trying to do is to get as much thermal mass onto your buildings as you can. What that really translates into is thick walls. Okay, now if you walk into any fort or palace or mausoleum, you're always cool inside. You can go to Jaipur and you can step into Amer
High
Fort.
ceilings and thick walls.
So, we've known this for 5,000 years.
Correct.
So it's not a function of, the fact that in 2012 we're having this conversation is actually quite an embarrassment. Because for 5,000 years we've done this absolutely brilliantly. 20 years of, post 1991 where we borrowed models from colder climates and brought them and stuck them into hot climate is where we've gone wrong.
I would totally agree with you. Saket, would you be of the same viewpoints? I mean, we're making matchbox houses. Builders are getting away with, it costs to build thick walls, doesn't it? And have roofing which actually prevents your heat to come in.
Yeah, but the situation is that this is what is happening in Bombay and Delhi. A lot of the builders do compromise that. So, you don't really have scenarios where you have thick walls, as Manit rightly said. So what are you going to do in that case? So I think greening is a very important thing, using elastomeric paints, using paints that help with that. So I think it's really about having very simple strategies. As I said, greening is very important. For example, having a green wall surface.
Lots of plants, you're saying, and if you're in Delhi, you can actually plant trees.
And they say that you can reduce the temperature of those surfaces by 4 to 5 degrees, which is a lot.
Okay. Also talk to us about paints. There are supposed to be some reflective paints which actually prevent heat from coming in. How much would you recommend use of that?
I mean, I'd keep it simple. I think what I'd do is look at paints that basically have a high albedo effect. So anything that's closer to whiter will reflect more and absorb less. And that's really the strategy you want to use.
Okay, so keep it white, keep it cream, don't
keep
go
it
into
lighter,
deep colors,
keep it lighter. The
keep
darker the surface, the more issue you'll have with the heat gain.
I'm going to come to new houses which are being constructed, right? What would you ideally want to see in them, Manik? Because there is a really dear friend of mine here who's done wonders with his house, with asbestos sheets in his roofs, etc. And it's a very, very cool house in Gurgaon.
Well, asbestos is not exactly
not
approved.
Asbestos, sorry. There's something he's done, yeah.
See, what you would do if you had the opportunity to build a new house, which in the case of NCR or Mumbai, you'd be an extremely rich person in any case, in which case energy conservation doesn't really matter to you. But be that as it may, what you would really be looking to do is in terms of the general planning, areas that are not habited all the time. For example, bathrooms, staircases, stores. You should line up those on the west side of your house. That will create a great thermal buffer from the west sun. Put a terrace garden on top of your roof. That will naturally cool the house from the top. So the two biggest sources of heat, the roof, because in our climate, we have ample sun, and the west side are the two critical areas. Keep all your glazings as far as possible on the north and maybe even on the east. That's one strategy. Two, what you must allow to do as well is to allow for, like Saket was rightfully saying, allow for some green plantations near. So you can have, if you have a courtyard, that works really well. Grow a tree inside that courtyard. I mean, other than the fact that you get oxygen during the day, what it really will help you do is to cool the house from the inside. So that strategy works really well.
Oh my God, you've just hit the nail on its head. This is what's happening. We've got used to such narrow temperatures. If you don't have that perfect 20 to 22 degrees, we need to put on either a heater or switch on an air conditioner, where there's so much to do just naturally. And I think the big theme coming out of what both Saket and you've said is go green. I mean, it's wonderful. Just buy plants, surround yourself with it. It'll cool your homes, and take little pots, the earthen pots, and fill them up. Earthen pots, and put water inside it, and you can just feel that coolness in your house and get used to bearing a little bit of heat. Even at 27 degrees, your body will get used to it. Saket Sethi, thanks very much for joining me here.
Thank you for having
the show.
Me.
Manit, thanks very much. Very interesting points of view. Hope all of you implement some of it in your daily lives as well.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for Retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.